Hi, everybody. How you doing? My name is Ryan Anderson, and I'm the Associate Dean of Business and Entrepreneurship here at Mohawk College. And thank you so much for joining us for a center snackable session. Today, I'm really excited to have a very close friend of mine, Nasir Ishmail, who is here today from a fantastic company called Wet Paint. And Naz is going to talk to you a little bit about how he started, his venture when he got started, some of the early obstacles, as well as always, giving you all a hint on what might be the best thing for you to get started yourself in your own small business. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Nasir. Why don't you say hi and maybe explain a little bit about your business and how you got started?
Sure. Well, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. And glad to be here as well, too. Hopefully I can bring some value to people that are looking to start their own business sometime or have that desire to do so. The business that I started is, as Brian mentioned, is called Wet Paint. Cabinet painting is what we do. It's we specialize in kitchen cabinets, bathroom cabinets, that sort of thing, resurfacing. Great alternative to replacing your cabinets. And in this day and age where people are looking to reuse and recycle and those sort of things and be a little bit more sustainable, it's a nice option when people are happy with their cabinetry, but just looking to change the color. And in the past, if I go back 15, 20 years ago, there really wasn't a great option for doing what we do in terms of resurfacing, and replacing cabinets was really the best option for people at that time, which is very expensive for one, and not to knock it, but it's an expensive venture. And again, it's creates a lot of waste in the landfill as well too, with old doors and hinges and things like that. That's the business that we do. We are based out of Milton, Ontario, is where our facility is. Although we service pretty much anywhere, GTA. We've been as far as Niagara on a pretty regular basis, out towards London, Kingston maybe is probably the furthest we've gone to the east, and then up to Barrie, Muskoka area as well. So we've got a pretty good coverage area, and we'll pretty much go anywhere if somebody's got a kitchen they'd like us to do. So I have 16 people on staff and 3 salespeople as well too. So that is kind of our network of our business. So that's kind of where we're at now. And I know, Ryan, you want to talk a little bit at some point here about kind of how we got there, but in a bit of a snapshot, that's who we are and kind of what we do.
Well, I think Nazir, your story and how you got there is fantastic, and it's a real interesting story about a journey and taking a really brave step and taking a direction that you probably never thought when you were in school that you would take. And can you talk a little bit about those early days? Why did you get started? What did it feel like when you took that first step?
Yeah, no, it's you're right. It was a journey, and I don't think really, like many entrepreneurs, I think I never really started out thinking that or feeling this desire to own my own company. Kind of going through high school, university, graduating, working after that, and I was in a corporate environment, some different environments, but corporate environment for about 18 years before I started doing this. And just always felt I'd live and die in a suit, and just kind of work for somebody or some company and help grow their business. And it really, for me, it got to the point where I guess not to knock corporate world, but I got tired of the rat race and the conference calls, the meetings, just administrative red tape, that sort of thing. And sometimes you have a lot of great ideas, you think, but you feel held back at times. And I just got tired of it. And really, for any kind of a numbers based or statistics based company, which most of them are, because they're measuring revenue and sales and whatnot, you're as good as your last month. And there's a lot of pressure there, and not that I can't handle the pressure, but it just got to the point where I kind of felt that if I'm going to do this, I think I'd like to just try doing it for myself, and seeing what I could do and take that chance. And at the end of the day, you have to be happy with what you do as well. And if you're not happy, then you better try to find something that is going to make you happy. And so I was in the corporate world for about 18 years. Obviously, Ryan, you and I know, but not everybody may know, but you and I worked together as well too, fairly closely at another college, and that was great. And one of the things I'll say is I've been very fortunate to have worked for a lot of great companies, and not only the companies themselves, but the managers and the leaders. Also not so great ones as well, and which is not necessarily a bad thing, because I think those experiences are just as valuable if you're able to learn from them. And some of the things that when I look back, I think about how did that manager or how did that supervisor, how did they make me feel? And it's not necessarily what they told me or what they asked me to do or what I had to do to perform or whatever, but it was more, how did they make me feel? And I try to parlay that now to my employees and kind of be able to, I think I'm a little bit more empathetic that way because I've had those experiences there. But when I was in the corporate world, like I said, I spent a good portion of my time with Enterprise, the car rental company, and we had moved 9 times in 12 years for Enterprise. And as we moved, my wife at the time, she would make me paint the house and do all the renovations before we moved in. And I became very handy in terms of being, resourceful in that sense. My dad's a machinist by trade, and I have that mentality as well too. So a little bit of mechanical aptitude. And I enjoyed painting, just homes and whatnot that we're moving into. But the more you do something, the better you get at it. And it got to the point where friends and family would call me to paint because they just enjoyed, or appreciated the time that I took. And one day, my best friend's aunt actually asked me to come in and paint her kitchen. And so I went over to take a look at it, and I looked at it, and it was freshly painted, the walls. And she said, no, I want you to paint the cabinets. And I had never done cabinets before and never even thought of it or anything like that. And she was about to spend almost $30,000 to replace her oak kitchen. And that was 15 years ago. So imagine today, kitchen of that nature is probably in the $60,000 range at this point, at least. So we, I told her, look, if you're willing to spend that money and you're willing to let me take a chance on painting these cabinets for you, I'll do a bit of research and see what I can do. And if it saves you $30,000, then hey, all the better for you. So long story short, I went out, I purchased a spray gun. I went to a couple paint places. I went to Benjamin Moore in particular, who I'm still connected with closely, and got a little bit of insight. And long story short, I resurfaced these cabinets. I sanded them in my basement. Set up a little mock spray booth in my garage, sanded them, primed them, painted them, and put our kitchen all back together and had everything painted and changed some handles on it. And it's been 15 years now, just over 15 years, and she still has that kitchen. So, when I hear that, that kitchen's kind of my litmus test to tell me that, remind me that, okay, the stuff is, what we're doing is a good thing, and it's saving people a lot of money, but it's also bringing value and appreciation to people's homes because they're just much more enthralled by their kitchen because of the way it looks now. So that was kind of the first, if you want to call it the test, and it happened by accident really, because like I said, back then, 15 years ago, Ryan, there was nobody really doing this as a business. It was, the odd, interior painter that would dabble in painting some cabinets, but you'd see the jobs, like they were painting right over them, not removing the doors, painting over the hinges, maybe changing handles if anything, but it's sloppy. I mean, it was, you see the brush marks, you see the drips and that sort of thing. So about a week after I did her kitchen, she called me back and she said her neighbor has the exact same kitchen and her best friend lives down the road, and they wanted to know when I could do it. And at that time I was still in a suit and tie by day.
I recall.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the deal. And so I said to her, well, you know what, if they're willing to allow me in the evenings or weekends, I can kind of pick away at it, but I've got a career like this, this is not what I do full time. So I did their kitchens. And as I was doing that, I just kind of got the inkling that, hey, you know what, if I could do a kitchen or two a month, it's just extra, cash on the side and just a little bit of extra income. And I've got the time at that time. So I put an ad on Kijiji. I'd get a couple a month, and the couple a month and the referrals started to build. I had a countertop company, which is really a kitchen renovation company out of Oakville, that found out about me as well. And they actually asked me to come work for them initially. And I said, well, I don't want to do that because again, I've got my career. Like I'll subcontract out some projects for you if you want them painted, because they were replacing they were replacing countertops, backsplash and that sort of thing. And they said a lot of time they were losing sales because people didn't want to spend the money to replace the cabinets. They just wanted to change the color. So they had started looking at trying to resurface themselves and they couldn't figure it out how to do it properly. And when they saw the work that I was doing on a couple of these jobs, they wanted to partner up with me. So I took it on, kind of not really knowing what kind of volume they were talking about. But about 6 or 7 months into it, I was doing 9, 10, 11 kitchens a month by myself, plus my career, which was just too much for me. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I remember I got to the Christmas holidays that year and I was just exhausted. And beyond other things and trying to deal with kids and those sorts of things in your personal life, trying to balance almost what was becoming 2 careers now. I said to myself, I had come to the realization that, you know what, I think it's time that maybe I try to do something on my own. And I really enjoy this cabinet thing. And there was really no market for it. There was a market for it, but there was nobody really knew the market was there because nobody was doing it. So, in terms of an idea, I thought it was innovative and it was a little bit unique, and I could sell the service. And I think I was fortunate to have those experiences at other jobs and other companies because I had that business experience going into this. And I think when I look at the contractor world today, there's a lot of great contractors out there, and they're very, very good at what they do in their skill, whether it's an electrician or plumber or whatever the case is. But trying to run it as a business, two different things. And if you don't have that business background or some sort of business savvy, they struggle, and we see it, in the contractor world these days. So I felt fortunate, kind of going in that in terms of fortunate and confident that I could do this, and I decided to quit the job that I had at the time and start this up with 2 kids in my back pocket, and I left a 6-figure job to do this, and I took a pretty big chance. So. I had done the math to figure out how many kitchens I needed to feed my kids, and if I had to go to craft dinner or whatever, I would. But we just made it work, and that was the risk really that I took in the beginning.
Naz, it's interesting because I was around you when this started, and
Yeah.
you hit on 2 things, and that I think is really important. Number one, if you can find something that you're passionate about, the business will build its own in a lot of ways. Number one. And with that comes also how you've always treated your employees and people. And I can really attest to watching how you did that. Number 2, running our Center for Entrepreneurship, we see a lot of people that run businesses because they are experts in their field or their craft, but they're not business people because they never got involved in that. So if I'm a mechanic, if I fix cars, or if I paint kitchens in many ways, I have a trade and I have a skill. I may not have business sense. And I think you hit on something extremely important, in that you have to work just as hard to acquire those skills as you do anything else. As we've got a couple seconds left, we always like to end these things. What's the one tip you'd give people that might be in the position you were a number of years ago, where they're starting out, they're not sure if this is their best thing to do? What's that one tip you would give them in getting started?
Yeah, I think it's hard to kind of pinpoint one thing, but I think really you've just got to be willing to do what the majority of the population won't do. And there was a saying I remember reading that said, to be in the top 1%, you have to be willing to do what the other 99% won't. And regardless of whether you're painting cabinets, you're selling CDs, you're cleaning toilets, like, it really doesn't matter what you're doing as a business. You just got to be able to put, willing to put the work in. And there's another nice, great saying that I read actually fairly recently, and it goes, work for it more than you hope for it. Because we all hope to be rich, and we all hope to be a successful entrepreneur, if that's what you're trying to do, or in whatever career you have, but not everybody's willing to work for it. And I think in terms of the actual tip, though, one of the things that popped into my mind when you just asked me is really just trying to take any shortcuts. I see a lot of companies, not just contractors, but different companies that, they'll take shortcuts when it comes to taxes, insurance, even with employees, even with, quality of the work and that sort of thing. And it catches up to you. And I think you want to build a good reputation to build your business. Our real motto at our company with the employees is, do a great job and just be nice to people. Pretty simple.
It's that simple, huh?
Yeah.
It's funny, and you look at some of the major slogans that people have. And I remember, I think it was Hertz in the States that went and said, not we're number one, but we're trying our best. And sometimes those easy ones, I'll let people know out there, Nasir mentioned about being able, being willing to do 99% of the things. There's a book by a man named James Kerr, and it's called Legacy. And it's about the New Zealand national rugby team. And he actually said, and some of you would know about their success, what sets them apart from everybody else is a concept they have called sweep the floor. And that every single person on that team, whether you are, the Ronaldo or the Wayne Gretzky of whatever your sport is, every day will sweep the dressing room floor before they leave at night. And that's something that really was that sort of that notion they would instill in every single person there, that no one is more important than each other. So it's something that Nasir, I love that you jumped on. So that's it for this session here. We're a little bit out of time, but Nasir, I really appreciate you talking a little bit about your start, about the way you got going, as well as some tips. And I think that notion of being willing to do anything and everything when you get started is something that I know we try and promote quite a bit with the center. So Naz, I always love hearing your stories because I miss talking to you personally because you're one of those fantastic people that I've always got to know. But I look forward to you joining us in other sessions, and thank you everybody for your attendance today. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.